everyone, I'm Melissa McAllister, and you're listening to the Melissa M.A.D.E Show. Now, for decades, I've dedicated myself to helping women break the cycle of dieting, navigate through all the fads, and change their lives through my nutrition coaching. Now, each week, I'm going to talk about everything from deep nutrition, mindset, self-care, the ideal workout routine, tips on how and why to implement intermittent fasting in your life, my favorite recipes that are not only crowd pleasers, but they're actually healthy for you, and so much more. Now, with small and consistent changes, you can defy aging while living a happier, healthier, and more heart-filled life. I'm so excited to show you it's possible with the right strategies that are so simple to adopt. Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Melissa M.A.D.E Show. When I came up with this conception of doing this podcast per your guys' request, my marketer asked me for a list of like dream people I would like to have on this call. And this is one of them. His name is Dr. Lipman. And I remember I was referred to his book last winter. And I just can see myself sitting by the fire going through his book. And just, if you're watching the YouTube video of it, it is just, I've got a million tabs in here. I literally call it the essential guide to living healthy. I don't know what else to call it, but when they say that living healthy can be simple, this is your book. He talks about 6 key things. Dr. Lipman is one of the pioneers in integrative and functional medicine. He's been in every magazine and on every TV show that there is possible. He has this brand for Be Well. And what it is exactly what I preach, which is just to help people live a healthy life that's incredibly sustainable. You know, you don't want to give people these ideas of how to live healthy if it's really difficult. And I can't preach from the rooftops enough about this book and how he really just very simply blueprints all of the things that are just so important for you to make a priority. And so it's such a pleasure, Dr. Lipman, to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So I would love to start with the book, if you don't mind. If we can just talk about maybe the 6 keys to living happy and healthy, what those 6 keys are, and kind of maybe highlight each one really fast about, you know, maybe the most, because you guys are so much good information in there, but maybe the one thing, if you could give my audience a takeaway from each one of these 6 keys, I think that would be great.
Sure. By the way, that's not an old book, but I've written a few since, so I've sort of forgotten that one. But why I wrote that book was, you know, there's so many simple ways to get healthy. And, you know, things that we don't talk about in traditional medicine, things that we don't think about even as medicine. For instance, taking a walk in nature or being kind to someone. So I try to take all that information that I've gleaned over the last 40 odd years of being a physician and put it into a book. And when you write a book, you have to sort of structure it somehow. So I structured it in terms of putting into 6 types of categories, but that's just for a book. But it's basically 90 or 100 tips on how to be healthy. And so I broke it down into how to eat, how to move, how to sleep, how to protect or how to avoid the toxins in one's life, how to relax or de-stress, and how to connect. We're connecting to yourself, connecting to others, connecting to the environment. So it was, you know, the 6 keys are really a little bit of a structure on how to take these 100 tips on how to be healthy.
Love that. Can you share a little bit about what you call the eating triad?
Yeah, I mean, I think for eating, probably the most important thing is to eat as little sugar and starch as possible, and especially as we get older, because as we get older, we don't metabolize carbohydrates as well as when we're younger. So sugar, processed foods, starchy foods tend to become more and more of a problem as we get older. I mean, I've been in practice long enough, and I'm seeing more and more younger people actually with issues around sugar. So I think sugar and processed foods would be the biggest issue with food. Um, and then I'd say it's not only what you eat, but it's when you eat. You know, I've become, especially as I've gotten older, a big fan of time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting or whatever you want to call it. But you know, trying to eat your calories in a day in a set time, for instance, 8 hours is what I do. So it's not only what you eat, it's when you eat, and then it's also sort of how you eat and with whom you eat, because you know we got to see. In this country, we don't realize the importance of sitting around the table with your family, with friends, and eating slowly and in community per se. So I think eating goes beyond just what you eat, but it's all these other factors too.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't even preface it this time, but I am a huge intermittent faster myself. I have been for over 2 decades, and it's one of my platforms is the importance of intermittent fasting, especially outside of, because most people, especially in today's day and age with the fads, it's
Sure.
all about weight loss, but the health benefits of fasting, you know, above and beyond just eating, to eat less calories within a shorter window. But so I'm very happy to hear that that's something that you advocate.
Sure.
And can you share with me too, in your book, you talk a little bit here lately, I've been taking a lot of people through, you know, kind of a gut protocol to help them heal their guts. And so many people find out that they do have, you know, some sensitivities to gluten. And in your book, which was, you know, back in 2018, is fascinating to me because it, you know, you really talked about it before. Right now, it's just, again, a fad. How, if you could describe, I think my listeners would love to hear your take on gluten. Not that gluten in itself, many hundreds of years ago was that bad, but why it's different today than it was back then.
Yeah, we're not exactly sure why, but gluten seems to be a problem for most people, especially in America. The belief is in America the wheat has been altered, so it's not the same as what wheat was, and when it's been altered, it changes the wheat, and people have become more sensitive to it. But I think the other thing is most wheat in America is sprayed with glyphosate, and glyphosate is a pesticide which is actually used for GMO, genetically modified organisms, but it's also sprayed on a lot of crops in America to help dry them quicker for harvesting. And I think glyphosate is a big problem. And you talk about gut healing. I think glyphosate is actually a registered antibiotic. So you eating this registered antibiotic and pesticide on your
Right.
food. So wheat gluten may be a problem for a number of reasons. I'm a big believer that glyphosate is actually one of them, but it's also been altered. A lot of my patients, myself included, to go to Europe and have bread, and we don't have a problem with it. And they come back to America and they eat bread, and it's a problem. So I think it's complicated. I mean, I don't try not to eat it for many reasons, but one of which is gluten causes sensitive, is a common food allergen. But the other reason is just too much gluten is too many carbs, and as we get older, I'm an old man now. You want to cut that back. So
Yeah.
many reasons not to eat it, although it's delicious. I love bread too.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that. Now you mentioned in your book as well, which I think if you would share with the audience, you ask in the book for people to kind of be their own advocates for their healthcare, of course, and the 10 big questions to ask your doctor when you're put on a prescription. You don't have to go over all 10, but if you can just kind of give a generalization of, when people go to the doctor and they're obviously prescribed something, what are the questions that you should feel as the person who's going to be taking this prescription should be comfortable asking your doctor?
Yeah, well, I think what we do as doctors, we because our tools are really drugs or surgery, when someone comes in with a problem, we give a drug. They've got a symptom, so here's a drug to treat the symptom. It's a metaphor I always use is if you're driving your car and the oil light goes on, you don't put a Band-Aid over the oil light. A drug is often a Band-Aid. So if you have reflux, here's a PPI drug to stop the reflux. If you have a headache, here's a drug to take away the pain. Now, I'm not against drugs, but one of the questions you should ask is, why is that symptom occurring? Why is that oil light going on in your body? And rather ask the doctor, is there, are we looking at to see why I'm having reflux, or are we just suppressing the reflux? Are we trying to look for the underlying cause? Are we treating the underlying cause, or are we treating the symptom? You should ask always about side effects, because drugs have effects. The ones we don't like, we call side effects. So we got to, ask, what are the side effects? Are they common? Are they not common? Has this drug been tested on women or kids? Because a lot of testing is done on men, for instance. So there are many things one should ask. We'll go to a shoe store and they're all different sizes of shoes, but you go to a doctor and you get a drug, it's usually one size fits all. So do you know if and we know this now from genetics, how you metabolize drugs is different for everyone. So there's so many factors we need to know before we, ideally anyway, before we take a drug.
Love that. And I think that we will, can I ask how long you're one of the pioneers of integrative and functional nutrition, how long you've been on that side of it versus conventional medicine?
Well, I qualified in 1979 in South Africa. So I've been a doctor for 42 years. And very early on in my training, I realized the shortcomings of Western medicine. Or I realized Western medicine was wonderful at crisis care and,
yes.
Hospital-based acutely ill patients, but it wasn't particularly good at treating chronic problems. So I started exploring alternatives and investigating, right in the beginning. But I got into functional medicine when I came here, and I had to do a residency after that. So I've been interested in different ways or exploring other modalities for 40 years, but in functional medicine, probably 30 odd years. 35 years, who knows? I don't know anymore. It's like
It's very impressive.
Long time.
Long time. Well, I appreciate it from, someone, the integrative and functional medicine is so much needed. And I appreciate, especially someone who's a pioneer in that. Now, behind you, for those of you that are just listening to the podcast, which is the majority of you, you don't see that, but behind him are probably 500 books. So I have to ask you, have you read?
I used to read. Now I don't read as much as then I got into writing. But yeah, I've read. When you start out, there were no schools, there were no courses. It was different when I started out. I had to just educate myself. So yes, I just read a lot. I just read and devoured anything that I thought could help. So yes, I have read most of these books. I wouldn't say everyone, but most of them, yeah.
It's quite the collection. All right, I have a question for you. Do you ever feel tightness in your tummy sitting in rush hour traffic, or you get sick to your stomach right before a big presentation? I've been there. That's because your gut, not your brain, is responsible for your stress response. So to manage stress and to feel calm and in control, you have to give your gut what it needs to thrive. Now, personally, I trust Just Thrive Probiotic because it's recommended by some of the biggest names in the health industry. And I've been taking it for years. It's a game changer in helping you sidestep gas, bloat, and constipation. And it's even been shown to help flip the switch on stress so you can feel confident and in control. And for next level stress management, get this. I have been pairing the probiotic with Just Thrive's breakthrough new product called Just Calm. I love the word. Just Calm's proprietary ingredients have been clinically proven to do the almost imaginable. It reduces perceived stress. It improves sleep quality and energy, and even encourages better focus and flow. Now, Just Thrive Probiotic and Just Calm make the perfect 1-2 punch. Can you see me doing the 1-2 punch to beat stress before it beats you? I really want you to find and listen to the episode that I did with Tina Anderson, who is the creator and CEO of Just Thrive, and listen to this podcast. It is amazing where she goes into detail, and you're going to be able to learn all about this groundbreaking company that's changing the game in the supplement industry. There's no fake marketing, no claims, just real scientifically proven results, which mean everything to me. And I know it does to you too. So if you're looking for the best in gut health and mood support, choose the clinically proven, award-winning power of Just Thrive. And guess what? You can save 15% off site-wide when you go to justthrivehealth.com and use the code MelissaMade. So you wrote this book before the pandemic started. And I think more than ever, with people coming out of the pandemic, one of the 6 keys is the connection. And I think that's really valuable. I mean, you even talk about, connecting with pets and writing and all of these amazing things to help people, find themselves again, or to love again, or to be social again. Do you have any tips for people that are coming out of, some people, some serious isolation for 2 years on how to, learn to connect again?
Yeah, I mean, I think connection to others, to yourself, to the environment is crucial for our health. And as you point out, I think that has been a big issue for so many people. The lockdowns are not healthy for the community long term. Maybe they were helpful in the beginning for a short term, but over time they have more detrimental effects. So what can you do? I mean, I think you need to just regroup with your community. It's important to have family, friends, people who you love around you. It's important to go out in nature, spend time in nature if you can. But the thing I would suggest is to sort of be kind to yourself, to realize how difficult this has been. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Try, I'm a big believer in volunteering or nonprofit work, because when you give selflessly, you actually get more than when you get more for yourself than when you give. So try find organizations that you can support. It's just a way of getting out of your own crap, your own dramas. So when you start giving and you're seeing how much difference you can make in the world, it really helps you. It helps others, but it helps you too.
I totally agree. For me, when the pandemic came, I really connected with animals, which was one of the things that you do in there. Is that, people weren't an option, but animals were. So to be able to volunteer and to help the animals was something that kept me feeling connected, even though, it was such a hard time. So this is fascinating for me. Actually, 2 questions for you. I'll start with this one first. Can you share with us the books that you've written since Be Well for people to take a look at, and kind of what they entail? Every single one of you guys listening, I really want you to get this book and read it. And then I don't know if your other books.
Yeah. Well, How to Be Well, to be quite honest, is my favorite book, because it's just everything I put in, and we made it really pretty and easy to read. It's like 100 tips to live well.
Yes.
So I love that book. But since then, I wrote a book on how to age well. The new rules of aging well. As I got older, I started exploring, the research and what one can do. So it's sort of in the same vein. It's very simple, but it's tips on aging well. And then I wrote a book on sleep after that.
Yay. So those are two things for me. I mean, I'm 48 years old now, and I was going to ask you a little bit about sleep, but when it comes to aging well, is there just one profound thing that you can share with the audience that you found? Is it, hormones?
That's the things we've been talking about. So there's nothing profound. It's like eat less, intermittent fasting is really important, low sugar, sleep is crucial, moving your body, connecting, all the things we talked about and I talk about in that book, but it's sort of more specific in terms of, you realize how important sleep is, how important exercise is, how important how well you eat, because as you get older, you can't mess around as you can when you're older. Your body is less resilient. So you just got to be more and more careful. And now what's interesting is we can do genetic testing. So we can actually test and measure someone's blueprint. And from someone's blueprint and then their blood results, you can sort of get a really personalized program on what supplements are appropriate for you, what diet may be good for you, how you should exercise. There's so many, everyone's different. And now that we can actually do this genetic blueprint, it's actually very helpful to take that blueprint and then layer it on top of someone's, let's say, blood biomarkers and their history and give them a program.
Yeah. So is this what you just spoke of? Is this have to do with your collaboration with Hearty?
Hearty's taken it to another level. So Hearty, or the website is joinhearty.com, is a startup which I happen to just be the chief medical officer. They're taking what I do in my practice. So we use the genes, the genetic test, we use the blood test, and then we layer on top of that an Oura ring or wearables, so continuous blood glucose monitor. Or so we do wearables plus genetics plus bloods, and we do it all in the comfort of your home. So it's sort of how do you improve someone's health span and get them healthy from as telemedicine per se. Unfortunately, at the moment, we can just do it in New York, but we're setting it. I'm just doing the medical part, but they said that these incredible guys are setting it up to be all over the country. But it's a future of medicine, because it's combining the genetics, blood work, and then wearables, and really tailoring, and then health coaching, and then really tailoring it to your specific needs. So that's where I think the future is. Same as I saw the future in functional medicine years ago, I think the future is in combining all of this together.
Yeah, it sounds extremely individual.
So everyone should go to joinhearty.com.
Yes,
JOIN Hearty.com. It's fascinating. I think it's really interesting. Yeah,
it is. And it was sweet, because I signed up for it, and I immediately got an email back from a real life person that said, we're not quite in Texas yet. We're only in New York, but we will let you know when we're available. And I thought, wow,
they're amazing. It's amazing for me as an older guy. I mean, I'm 67 now. To see these young, smart, dedicated, it's just wonderful to see what's happening. It's just lovely to see this new generation sort of getting it and trying to make health, more accessible for people.
Yes. So my last question for you, Dr. Lipman, is if somebody they can't come see you, they're just on a really tight budget, but they really do want to individualize their outcome as much as they can, whether it be a CGM, an Oura ring, or, all of the things out there, the different tools. I use Lumen. I don't know if you've heard of Lumen, but all these great tools. Is there one that you think would be best for someone to start with on their life change, in hopes to be able to, incorporate other ones down the road? But is there one that speaks to you the most in your practice?
Yeah, the one is taking charge of your own health. You don't have to rely on the technology. The one is to, exercise, make sleep a priority, sort of get into all these. It's all in How to Be Well. It's like really they're simple things. You what you eat, when you eat, how you sleep, how you move your body, how kind you are, all the
Yes.
things we're talking about. That's much more important than measuring anything, because the measurements is giving you the feedback, but you need to start practicing these things. So if I have to choose one thing, it would be kindness, to be quite honest.
Oh, I love that.
But being kind, when I talk about being kind, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be kind to the earth.
Yes, I totally agree. So I will link the book down below. And like I said, for you guys that are really, truly just looking for, I mean, we follow all of these influencers, and Dr. Lipman is highly celebrated. He's obviously been in this business for a long time, done so much work here. And he put it, as he said, the book is beautiful. It can be a countertop or what you would call a coffee table book, because
that's what we created, a coffee table book. Yeah.
Yes, it's just beautiful. And it's such an easy read, and it's broken up into such great, even if you are a social influencer and you're in the health field, a personal trainer, a nutritionist, a health coach, always give credit where credit is due, but he will give you content until the cows come home on your social media, because it's really that chock full and that simple for people to understand. So I'm a huge fan of that book, obviously a huge fan of yours. You were on my dream team list.
Thank you.
Dr. Lipman, and I so appreciate everything that you do. I look forward to maybe put it in a little word for me, you coming to Texas and being able to be a part of the Hearty that you're doing, because that's, you guys go look at it. It's impressive, and it's going to excite you for the future of medicine.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on, and good luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, take care. Keep in mind, M.A.D.E also stands for Make a Difference Every Day. I want you to wake up prepared, and I want you to go to bed proud. I'll see you next time. Wow, we've reached the end. But before I leave you, I'd love to hear from you. After all, it's not every day that someone reaches out and asks for your opinion. And to me, your opinion does matter. So please share this episode with anyone that you think needs to hear this message. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. My name is Melissa McAllister. And until next time, thank you for being your own health advocate.